digital marketing really is where most of us are connecting with our audience. It's making the invisible visible. And that's really where video comes in.
Hello and welcome to the Edgecast, where we talk to industry professionals about what they're doing and how they use the power of film to do it. I'm Angus Wallace. I'm one of the production assistants at the Edge Picture Company. In this episode, we are focusing on tech and infrastructure. Today, we are going to talk to Kathryn Giblin, Global Chief Marketing Officer at Airlabs.
The job of marketing always, when you're trying to market anything, is to connect, engage, and influence your audience.
Kathryn is a senior marketing professional with over 20 years' experience developing and implementing award-winning marketing strategies for Fortune 500 and entrepreneurial SMEs in Europe, North America, and Asia Pacific. Kathryn, thank you for coming in today.
Hi, Angus. Great to be here.
Kathryn, could you tell us a little bit about what Airlabs do?
Yes, absolutely. So Airlabs are a clean air technology company, and we offer air quality monitoring, management and cleaning solutions to really help reduce people's exposure to air pollution. More than 97% of the world's population is exposed to bad air, and it's our mission to help reduce that.
So you're helping clean up our dirty air in London?
Not so much clean up the air, but reduce the exposure. So what we will do is, obviously, we can clean it in zones. So indoors, inside a car, in sort of semi-indoor areas. And of course, we're great advocates for anyone that's wanting to reduce emissions and pollution overall. But yes, our mission is try to educate people on what they are exposed to, where they're exposed, to help cities manage that by getting really good quality data and information on air pollution, and then help offer mitigation.
Oh, wow, that's great. So Airlabs has recently released the Air Bubble. This is a major new piece of tech. Can you tell me a bit about the product?
Yes, so the Air Bubble is actually a consumer product that we launched in November of 2018. So it's really just reached its first year anniversary, and it's an impressive piece of technology. It's an in-car air cleaner that removes up to 95% of harmful pollutants, including nitrogen dioxide gas and PM 2.5, which is the really small, fine particles. These have been linked to cancer, cardiovascular disease, respiratory diseases, and reduced lifespan. So really important that people are aware that they're exposed and that they have a solution. What's interesting is the catalyst for this product was a concern and also technology that was the result of very extensive research. And a lot of people do not realise that when you're in your car, the pollution is worse, it can be worse than out on the street. So up to 2.5 times worse. In fact, the BBC recently did a short news video, where they took 3 families going to school in the morning, one in the car, one walking, one cycling, and the family in the car had the worst exposure to air pollution. And most people don't realise this, let alone know what to do about it. And that's why we launched the Air Bubble.
Is there anything else like that on the market? It's pretty new, isn't it?
Well, so this is really interesting, and I think this is, in technology, where technology is enabling us to break barriers, to come up with solutions that never existed. I think for the Air Bubble, when we look at launching the Air Bubble, the biggest challenge was that people don't really know they have a problem. I think you speak to the majority of people and you say, in the car, you're exposed to terrible levels of air pollution. It's worse than on the street. And they look at you and sort of say, well, hang on a minute. No. If I close the windows and turn on the recirculation, I'm absolutely fine. And that's not the case. So for us, in order to launch something in a very fragmented market, so there's lots of products out there that purify your air, clean your air, make it smell nice, all of these things. And they can cost sort of $25, $30 all the way up to, $400. So how do you stand out? And I think for us, the approach was, look, we really believe in this technology. We want to educate. We want people to be aware. We're not about scaremongering. We're not about trying to just push a product for the sake of it. This is about education and a very real problem that every week we see new statistics, new research come out that's linking something else to the exposure to these air pollutants. So for us, it was about educating both the consumer and the corporate audience. One, that there's a very real danger for drivers and passengers. What does that mean? And 2, that the technology that you choose matters. And our focus has very much been around that educational piece and helping people to come on that journey. And, people are at different levels. We look at the corporate environment, B2B, for example, fleets, drivers, the driver workforce. You've got people like Red Bull who just started rolling out air bubbles in their fleet of cars to protect their drivers. They've really realized, we're purchasing low emission vehicles, but there's still this air pollution problem. How do we protect our drivers? And that's a very new realization. And so as we start to see more corporations and large organizations go, oh gosh, what do we do? That's very much part of that education, and that's where that's coming from. And again, with the consumer, because it's very confusing today. If you went online to try to buy something, say air pollution, air cleaner, air purifier, you would be bombarded with choice. So this has been our challenge.
How do you find the best way to tackle misinformation in the market and that sort of thing? How do you educate?
No, that's a really good question. So, and I think to some extent we're still testing, but what we found is that, using a variety of media, but really at the end of the day, it's backed by research and science. So we always go back to what's really factual, what is actually happening. We cite research. We have our chief science officer. It was a co-founder of the company, and we are founded on technology. Not to knock anybody else that makes these kind of devices, but we don't make hairdryers. We don't make vacuum cleaners. This is our speciality. It's air pollution, air cleaning, airflow. So for us, it's about using, PR. It's about using case studies. It's about using audio, video, print, but a lot online, because we find that, for sure, people are searching online, looking for solutions. And of course, today, digital marketing really is where most of us are connecting with our audience. But we find that it's telling the story and demonstrating how other people have used it and what they have found the difference to be.
That's great. So it seems like you rely a lot on the facts because there's these new information coming out all the time, so you have to keep up to date with it. When educating companies, like you say, like digital marketing and things like that, have you done any sort of film-based education, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we've done several different things. So we've done them both with broadcast news. For example, CNN featured us in their Innovative Cities, and that was very educational piece about what's the problem, here's a solution. So we've done various news pieces like that. We've done educational pieces just to demonstrate using video. Look, this is what happens in a car. This is how this product works. Because that's the other thing. People sort of say, well, look, I have a product like this and it can sit in my cup holder, but does that send the air where it needs to go? And so how do you demonstrate that to people? It's making the invisible visible. And that's really where video comes in.
So we've talked about the air bubble and how you're reaching out to markets and using film. You've talked to CNN. Just to go back to yourself, you've worked for several environmental-focused tech companies. Is this a passion of yours? And what do you think tech is the answer?
Well, I think most of us really would like or want to work for a company and a brand that cares and is passionate about making a positive difference. Certainly, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. But technology has always excited me in terms of what it enables. And we look at technology today, and it's helping us do all kinds of things: use less power, live our lives differently, be more aware of the effect on the environment. We're consistently discovering new ways to use technology to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, manage our resource consumption in a way that is good for the economy, good for communities, and good for the environment. And I think it's that enabler that's really important. But to me, while tech is fascinating and it's doing all these wonderful things and helping us do these wonderful things, but the biggest part of the equation is the people behind it. Their passion, their innovation, their determination to invent and invest is incredibly powerful. And that together with tech is really changing how we can manage our environment and care for our environment ultimately.
That was great. So it's definitely a passion of yours, but it's also you like working with people who share that passion, and you're using tech to address the issues like the environment that you care about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. As well as being the Global Chief Marketing Officer for Airlabs, you also work with the marketing consultancy Kadence, offering interim marketing leadership, marketing consulting, and program implementation. Can you give us your top 3 core values for success in marketing?
Yes, I had a little think about this, and it was sort of, what are your core values? And really and truly, I come back to the same ones all the time for me anyway, which are curiosity, empathy, and persistence. Without curiosity, you don't get innovation. Curiosity drives innovation. It drives you to want to delve under the problem, figure out what it is, and what's the solution. And I think that in marketing is absolutely necessary. And, empathy is really critical because it enables you to understand your customer and to engage and connect with them in a way that's meaningful to them. You really can step into their shoes and see things from their perspective. And then persistence, because the market, our customer, the environment, our business, it's constantly changing and very rapidly. We live in a world where we expect instantaneous satisfaction and results. And the truth is that for any company to build a sustainable business and a brand, it takes time. And that needs persistence.
You have led marketing campaigns for both UK and US markets. What are the main differences in your approach to consider?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, like any markets, any different market, any different customer segment, they all vary. First of all, there's the difference in size. I mean, the US is enormous, and the variations across the US are huge. Having lived in the States for more than 20 years, you realize very quickly that the variations in terms of culture, particularly, even amongst cities and states, is enormous. Access to media, whether it be local or international, varies greatly from the UK to the US. Not necessarily how we consume it, but what we have access to easily is quite a variation between the two countries. And then I think at the end of the day, like any difference in customers that you're serving, the cultural piece is huge. But what is it that drives each of those customers? And even across the states, you have your segments. You've got your city, your geographical segments, but you've also got your cultural segments, in addition to breaking down your audiences based on who you're targeting. So I think you approach in the same way. I would say the US can be far more complex at times, particularly to stand out, because to stand out nationally in the US can be incredibly tough because it is just such a huge market.
Do you have any campaigns that you have an example of that you can give to illustrate that?
Well, I think we could take Air Bubble for an example. So Air Bubble, we did a wonderful promotion in the summer with Barclays and Black Cabs. We were featured on the news, we got publicity, and of course that went across the UK very quickly. Lots of people can see it. If you were to do that, say, for example, in New York City, in the US, you would only really get coverage in New York City. Someone in California or Boston isn't probably likely to see it unless it hit a particular news channel that was environmental or was on an environmental platform or featured in something that a publication or a media platform that someone was reading specifically around the topic, rather than it just being a general news piece that more people would see. So that's always I think one of the big challenges, and certainly we could see it. That's a good example.
Great. Airlabs uses film to demo their products, show how they work and what's on the inside. Why do you think that this transparent approach has proven successful for Airlabs?
So I think, it all boils down to today we live in an experience economy, right? It's all about experience. And, people are used to being able to sort of see, feel, touch. We can experience almost anything, whether it's real or virtual. And the job of marketing always, when you're trying to market anything, is to connect, engage, and influence your audience. I mean, 3 key pillars. And what I think video or film does very quickly is it answers the what, why, how. So it can show you what it can do. It shows you why you need it. And you can demonstrate how it works really quickly in one piece of media. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And of course, video today is so accessible.
Great. Perfect. So as a marketeer, are there any campaigns that you've seen that have really inspired you or impressed you?
Well, constantly inspired and impressed by the creativity in marketing and across brands, globally. I always see amazing things. Some that really, spring to mind are ones particularly where it's been like the underdog, someone who's completely new on the market, they want to break through. There's a really good example, Michel et Augustin, and I probably pronounced that horribly, but they do cookies, French company, and they really wanted to get their cookies into Starbucks. So they launched this social media campaign like, we will get to meet the CEO of Starbucks. We're going to fly to San Francisco. We want to meet with him. And they started posting it. People were resharing it. They were documenting their journey. The videos are hilarious. Really, low budget, nothing high budget at all. It's all sort of done with smartphones and everything else. And they launched a social media campaign. Anyway, the story goes that it was actually his wife that saw these videos and said, you have to meet with these guys. They did get a meeting and they got a pilot in Starbucks, and they are still in Starbucks stores today. So really, really just very creative, inventive. And I think just goes to show, look, you can be really innovative and creative very quickly and easily. It doesn't have to be complex always. And then I think everyone knows the story of the Dollar Shave Club, right? 2016, they put their video out. It was absolutely hilarious, and it went viral. And so simple, low budget again, but exactly said what they did. And you sort of watch the video and go, yeah, why wouldn't I order them? Like, it's $1. Like, what have I got to lose? And it was just really well done, and it cut through the noise and resonated with people. And then, these are consumer, they're easy to sort of, find creativity. But I think B2B is difficult. And I think a brand that's done it very well in some instances particularly is GE. And there's a video that stands out for me, which is by GE or General Electric. GE ran a series of sort of campaign around, they still run this. It's very much their mission, their brand promise is around caring, innovating to care better. They care about their customers. They care about what they're doing. And they're making a difference. That's their big piece. And they did a video about a doctor in remote islands who visited his patients on a wave runner. It's a wave runner. Is that what it's called? I think.
Yeah, like the water ski.
Yes, like the ski. But it was all about the ultrasound device. It was a portable ultrasound device that he could carry, and the human connections in the video showing what a difference he could make to someone's life and treating them, and how much he cared about his job in this short video. It was beautifully shot. I mean, clearly that was a high budget element, but the emotional connection, you really resonates with you, and you sort of, that's amazing. And any brand that can bring that, evoke that emotion in you, or get you excited or make you feel something, that's amazing.
What do you think the difference in marketing strategy is for business to business and business to consumer?
So I think if you're looking at sort of, many people classify B2B, B2C. At the end of the day, it's human to human, right? We're trying to connect with someone, we're trying to engage with them, we're trying to get them excited, make them feel something. And B2C, of course, has always been very creative, and it tends to be where some bigger budgets have been historically. But B2B can be just as exciting. It doesn't need to be boring. You're still trying to connect, you're still trying to engage. And I think any brand that is able to tell their story in an exciting, engaging way, make you feel something and really want to then actually take action, then you've nailed it.
Well, that's great, Kathryn. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about Airlabs and the air bubble, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angus.
Well, that brings us to the end of our first ever Edgecast. I hope you found our discussions insightful. Next month, we'll be talking about positive change, where I'll be speaking to Tufik Mashnuk of Network Rail and Tony Danker of Be The Business. Thanks very much for listening, and don't forget to sign up to our newsletter to get episodes of the Edgecast, our latest films, and indispensable industry insights straight to your inbox.